Was Freud a fraud? What they got right and wrong about him. He was the man who gave us the unconscious. The talking cure, the id, the ego, the superego. But also the man who saw sexuality everywhere, who claimed children desired their parents, who built theories on a handful of patients, and dismissed disagreement with icy confidence. Was Freud a genius or a deluded storyteller? That question has haunted psychology, philosophy, and culture for over a century. Some see Freud as the father of modern therapy, others as a pseudo-scientific mystic, a few both. In this episode, we'll explore the major criticisms of Freud's work and how his defenders respond. We'll meet his harshest critics, his loyal followers, and the scholars who see him as something stranger, not a scientist, but a myth-maker. A philosopher of the psyche. This isn't a defense, it's a reckoning. And by the end, perhaps you'll see why Freud's ghost refuses to disappear. Let's begin with the most common attack. Freud's theories are not scientific. The philosopher Karl Popper made this argument famous. Science, he said, must be falsifiable. Its claims must risk being proven wrong. But Freud's ideas, like repression, dream symbolism, or the Oedipus complex, are notoriously hard to test. You can always reinterpret the data. If a patient agrees with Freud, he's right. If they disagree, it's repression. He's still right. That's not science, Popper said. That's a closed system. Enter the behaviorists led by B. F. Skinner. They dismissed Freud's talk of unconscious conflict and internal drives. Psychology, they insisted, should be about observable behavior, not hidden minds. In the mid-20th century, Freud's influence in academia collapsed, especially in the US. Then came neuroscience. With brain scans and neurochemistry, the focus shifted to the biological brain. The symbolic language of psychoanalysis seemed vague, even irrelevant. Antidepressants replaced analysis. Neurons replaced dreams. Freud, they said, was dead. And yet, while scientists distanced themselves, philosophers did something unexpected. They took Freud seriously, but not literally. Jacques Lacan. This French psychoanalyst and theorist said, Freud is not biology, he is language. For Lacan, the unconscious is structured like a language, a realm of signs, symbols, metaphors. He reinterpreted Freud through Saussure's linguistics and structuralism. The ego isn't the center, it's a fiction, a defense. The real drama happens where desire meets the symbolic order. Hard to understand? Absolutely. But Lacan made Freud modern again, in the postmodern sense. Jacques Derrida. The father of deconstruction saw Freud as someone who exposed the instability of meaning. In Dreams, Slips, and Symptoms, Freud revealed that our words betray us, that identity is never whole. Ludwig Wittgenstein. Though often a critic, he once said, Freud's work is not science, but it is great narrative, like a mythology of the soul. These thinkers didn't believe Freud. They used him as a mirror, a tool, a challenge. Freud was a man of his time, and that time was deeply patriarchal. His writings on women have caused decades of debate and anger. He spoke of penis envy, suggesting that girls feel inferior for not having male anatomy. He described female sexuality as passive and often secondary to the male drama. Enter Karen Horney, a brilliant psychoanalyst and one of Freud's earliest female critics. She rejected penis envy and proposed instead the idea of womb envy, that men may envy women's creative, nurturing power. Then came Simone de Beauvoir, Julia Kristeva, and Judith Butler, feminists and post-structuralists who saw in Freud both oppression and insight. They argued that Freud revealed how identity is formed through language, power, and family systems, but that his male-centered assumptions needed to be reworked. Freud's theory of gender may be flawed, but his theory that gender is a constructed identity? That idea has been foundational to queer theory, gender studies, and postmodern philosophy. Freud claimed to heal through insight, but what actually helped his patients? Critics point out, his case studies were often vague, unverified, and sometimes inconsistent. He ignored evidence that didn't fit his theory. He clung to interpretation, often at the cost of the patient's actual experience. Take his early theory of seduction, that hysteria was caused by childhood abuse. He later abandoned it, not because he disproved it, but because he believed the memories were fantasies. This has led to fierce debate about recovered memories, false memories, and trauma. And yet, modern trauma therapy has, in some ways, vindicated Freud. We now know that trauma can be repressed and return through symptoms, flashbacks, or dissociation. Freud was right. The mind has defenses, but wrong about their uniformity. He was right. Childhood shapes the adult psyche, but wrong about the exact mechanics. Modern therapy builds on Freud's intuition, not his methods. Perhaps the most interesting critique is this. Freud wasn't a scientist at all. He was a mythologist, a maker of modern stories. Think about it. He gave us the hero's journey of therapy, the symbolic language of dreams, the tragedy of desire and repression, the morality tale of id versus superego. He constructed a worldview as sweeping as any religion or epic. And like myths, Freud's theories don't demand literal belief. They demand interpretation. Just as Oedipus doesn't explain every family, Freud doesn't explain every mind. But the questions he raised remain. Why do we not know ourselves? Why do we repeat destructive patterns? Why does truth sometimes arrive in disguise? Freud's genius was not that he had all the answers. It was that he framed the questions in a way no one had before. So, was Freud a fraud? Not exactly. He was often wrong, arrogant, unscientific, even harmful. But he was also original, courageous, and profound. He taught us that the mind is not transparent, that identity is formed in conflict, that memory, dream, and symptom are all texts, to be read, not erased. Today, most psychologists don't believe in Freud, but they live in a world he shaped. When you say someone is in denial, you speak Freud. When you analyze a dream, you echo Freud. When you wonder, why did I do that? You trace his legacy. He gave us a map, not of neurons, but of meanings. And perhaps that's why, no matter how many times we declare him dead, Freud continues to haunt the modern mind. Curious minds never stop. Subscribe to keep exploring.